What up, world? Welcome to another episode of Coast to Coast. My name is Jose.
And I'm Darian, and welcome to our season premiere.
Woo! I'm
Yay.
really excited. Today we have a very, very special guest, one of my very good friends coming from Las Vegas. Really down-to-earth person. When I think of her, I think of DTF, which means she is always down to have fun. Um, very, very spiritual person, always brightens the room every time I see her. Let's give it up for Natalie.
Yay.
Hey, Natalie, what's going on?
Hey, you are too kind to me.
How are you?
My homemade margarita. I figured I would put some Jose in my cup since I was going to be talking to you today.
That's awesome. Hey, cheers to that.
Yes.
Hey.
Grab your cup, Darian.
Cheers.
Hey, so today is all about you. Want to get to know you even more, and I want the fans to get to know you as well. So you're a teacher, correct?
Yes, I teach high school math. This year and the last 4 years, I've taught geometry. I've taught other things too, but I've taught geometry for the last 4 years. And this year I'm teaching all geometry again.
So what is that? That's circles and squares, right?
You got it, dude.
All right.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Circles, squares, triangles is a big part.
Okay.
Yeah, we learn all about shapes and segments, angles, different types of angles. Geometry is where you do proofs. Remember those?
No.
No.
Yeah, I wish I could forget about them.
I don't think I ever took geometry. Do you take it in high school, or is it a class you could also take in college?
It's a high school class. So in Vegas, geometry is the math class for sophomores in high school. Some students take it earlier if they're advanced. Some take it later if they're behind. Behind, right? In quotes, because what is behind, right? But it's typically a sophomore class. There is a geometry level or a college level geometry class, and do not recommend. It's a 400 level math class, and any 400 level math class is how do I say this? Torture. Like, it's terrible.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so I have mostly those sophomore kids, 15, 16-year-olds.
And school just started for you, right?
Yeah, we just finished week 3. So
Oh, wow.
we're starting to get our footing here a little bit. It's, with distance ed, it's just completely different. No one knows what they're doing. No one knows what's going to work. Everyone's just taking their best guess and trying their best. But it's basically everyone's brand new teacher again,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So 3 weeks in, I'm starting to see, a little bit of what's working and what's not, but I still have a lot to figure out.
Sure. How is it like for you, Darian?
Yeah, Darian, how's that going? Because you're 4th grade.
Yeah, it's really hard because, to begin with, the area that I teach in is they barely even have internet, and so it's always glitchy, and then they're like, you're lagging, and I'm like, it's not me, guys. I hate to break it to you, but it's on your end. Like, you're the laggy one for me. But it's just hard to teach them because they don't know what they're doing on the computer. They got used to using iPads at school, but then they all got Chromebooks for this distance learning. So now they're trying to have to figure out how to use a Chromebook. They don't know how to type. All their sentences are all messed up because the keyboard is a lot harder to, capitalize a letter where it needs to be capitalized. And I'm trying to cut them some slack on that. But at the same time, I don't want them to think that what they're doing or what they're giving me is going to, help them pass in the future, So it's just a balance of teaching them even how to use the Chromebook, and then trying to get them to find their assignments, which is a struggle every single day. I'm like, guys, it's in the same spot as it was, 2 days ago, and they don't remember like day to day. And it's just very frustrating.
Yeah. I
My
wanted to
hat's off
ask you guys.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jose.
No. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, I can't imagine doing elementary school in this. I mean, I couldn't imagine doing elementary school normally, but now it's just, I think of the problems that, my colleagues are having and that I'm having, and all of those would be so much worse. And there'd be so many more problems if we were dealing with younger students. And so I just can't imagine how stressful that must be. And so I applaud you. You have like the hardest job in the world right now. Probably always, all the time, but even more so now.
Thank you. Oh man. What were you saying, Jose?
So I wanted to ask, let's say COVID doesn't exist, right? How is education changing? And I guess now that we have COVID, right, because it's not something that we can overlook, how is it changing even more?
That's a really good question. There's something that my principal said a couple weeks ago that I was really excited to hear from someone at that level. She was saying that she would love for, after COVID's all over or whatever, for our school and for education in general, but, at our school, for there to be more flexibility and options for the students. Why don't we offer them online school? If some students are going to be thriving, some students are thriving. I have students who've told me they've never had an A in math in their life, and now they do, right? Those kids are thriving. On the other hand, I have the kids who typically struggle and are struggling even more than ever before. And they obviously need to be in person, especially for math, right? So why are we just forcing kids to all go to school at these hours and, have the same, everything's the same? Why don't we offer online classes and have some kids be online and some kids be in person? It would be better for the kids, right? Those kids can decide what's better for them. And it would be better for just the school in general, and the students that are going like in person and teachers in person, because then you'd have less kids in the classroom, right?
Yeah.
And that is what I believe is the biggest thing that needs to be changed. I know it sounds so simple and it sounds so basic, and we hear it all the time that class sizes are too big, but it is so impactful on the kids having such huge classrooms. They need to be smaller. So if you're offering online classes, some kids are going to choose to do online and some are going to choose to be in person. And then automatically your numbers drop that are in the classroom just right there,
It's so funny you say that. So, and your answer is that once COVID is over?
Yeah. So once we can go back into the classroom, right?
Okay.
Like, because obviously everyone's online right now, and there's not an option in CCSD. There's not an option to go back to school, right? There are some private schools where you're going in, but yeah, I'm talking about once the schools open back up.
So yeah, to go back to that, it's so funny you say that because I was a bad kid. From the moment I stepped into elementary school to the moment I graduated, there was a point in high school, like ninth grade, where I just kept getting pushed back, another year. And I just couldn't focus around a normal classroom. So they put me, so my high school had its regular high school classes, but then they had a little small section next to the janitor's office where they had all four major classes in there. And so I essentially didn't get to leave, right? I just would go from one room to the next room, but each class had 5 kids and we was all bad together, but we made it out together. You know what I mean? So everything that we were struggling with, we were able to do it together and not have to feel like we're dumb or anything like that. So I totally agree. Having smaller classes is a lot better, because that's how I was able to graduate, high school and then move on to community college, right? Because that's what my education was going towards. It was a little push.
Yeah. Well, and what you said there is another thing that we've done at my school that I think is makes a world of difference. So we still have the big class sizes. However, a couple years ago, switched things up in the math department. So you know how there's usually the regular classes and then there's the honors classes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in math, you're either in regulars or you're in honors, right? And obviously, as you get higher up, there's AP and stuff too. But basically, it's the two tracks, regular or honors. Well, we were having a lot of trouble with our regular classes. When I say trouble, I just mean not a good pass rate. About 50% or so of students were failing every year in regular classes. So what we did was we made a third level. So you have your regular and honors, and then there's one that's just, I don't want to say below regular.
That's where I was, the dumb kids. It's okay. We's all dumb. That's where I was.
It's for those kids who always struggle in math and who notoriously get D's and F's in math. All of those students are now in one classroom together. And now it's what you said, it's just so good to like actually hear that from someone who that had an impact on, because what you said was you didn't feel like the dumb kid anymore because you were with that group. Your whole group was.
We was all dumb together. So it was like.
You're not the dumb one anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like the way I look at it was like, for example, like going into, a failing sports athletic team. Like we all suck, but let's work together. Let's build on these things and then become, good at it and win the championship. Like that's how we all was. We were all getting left back. And it came to a point where they made a separate school for us next to the janitor's room, so it was honors, it was regular classes, it was the special ed, and then there was us. And we were called Bond, branching out in other directions. That's what we was going in other directions. But these teachers were so good at what they did, and they were able to focus on having 5 kids per class that led us to the right directions. I mean, I'm getting my master's class right now. You know what I'm saying? Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
I never thought I would graduate high school, and now, look at it, because of Bond. You know what I'm saying? So that's awesome that you guys are doing that too.
You say this, and I'm shocked, right? Because I didn't meet you until we were in college, right? Mm-hmm. So to hear that was your high school and previous experience is wild to me, because I know that you're such a smart person, and I could never imagine anyone calling you a bad kid. That doesn't sound like Jose,
Yeah.
So yeah, that just goes to show that like you can be in these classes, or you can struggle in school and still be a successful, awesome adult,
Yeah. Can we give a hand clap for that? Yeah. That just sounded so nice. Yeah. That was awesome. Oh, thank you, Nat. That was amazing.
But I love it so much, and to be honest, Jose, like I'm going to go back to my kids because I'm teaching 5 sections of the low level geometry classes. And I just checked my grades 3 weeks into school. I'm not happy to say this. 65% of those students are failing right now. And we're only 3 weeks into school. And we've only had 3 assignments and 1 short 10-question quiz, and 65% of them are failing, right? And so that's a whole nother conversation, but what I can, I draw inspiration from you, because I can say to them that you can struggle in this class, get your D if you have to, if that's all that you are capable of right now, because there's so much more that you're dealing with than just geometry. If that's what you can do right now, take it and you will still be an amazing adult, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I'd be so on board if you want to take a picture of me, put it in your class and be like, it's okay. It's okay. If he could do it, you guys could do it too.
Yeah. And going along with that, I even have fourth graders who have told me that I don't want to be in school. Like so many people, and the kids that I teach are majority Hispanic and Black. So they tell me that and this is coming from a fourth grader, and it breaks my heart that they're like, society already looks down upon me. And so I want to also use you as an example, being a Latino, that you can do it, you know, and school's not going to come easy to some people, and that's okay. But you also need to do as much as you can to get through it so you can become a successful person in whatever you want to be successful in, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I think the role of a teacher is super important, because when you go home, and I'm talking from my experiences, right? When you go home after school and there's no role models that you look up to, and the way I looked at it was like, this is just a show, right? I'm just here to show up, get whatever I need to get, but then go home, right? I didn't have any role models at home. So everything I learned went out the window essentially, right?
mm-hmm.
But once I started going into bond, right? And then it's like, okay, you can't go anywhere. Where else are you going to go? You're not accepted by the regular school, you know? So you could start learning, and we can spend enough time with you. You build relationships. So it's not only just schooling and education. It's more like, this is my father figure per se.
Yeah.
You know, so I think people have, like, kids have the opportunity to be what they need to be, but they also need that role model. And it's hard, especially when, you know, Latino kids don't have that, because, you know, they're not in the business of teaching my kid. They're in the business of, I got to figure out how to pay rent. So you speak English, you figure out schooling on your own.
Yeah. And I'm going to go back to what you said. You said building relationships, and that's a huge part of like my teaching philosophy, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
It blows my mind when people say or ask, you build or why do your kids like you so much? You know, how are you building these relationships? I'm like, are you not doing that in your classroom? Like, you don't talk to your kids, you just actually just teach, and that's all it is. So I was going to ask Natalie, how do you think the same way too? Like, how important building relationships is?
It's probably the most important thing that a teacher could do. I truly believe that, of all the things a teacher can do to have successful students, I believe it's having a relationship with your students 100%. And it's the thing that's so hard about that is, I don't know if you feel this way too. I'm going to be super honest. Building relationships with, especially, you know, as a high school teacher, 200 or more kids, 200 of just my geometry students. And then sorry, so it's going to sound like I'm bragging or something, but I do Key Club. My Key Club has over 100 students in it, and Student Council, which also has 100 students in it. And so I'm having these relationships with hundreds of students each year. And I love it so much. And at the same time, it is so hard to get my work done because I always have kids in my room, always, right? I always am talking to students. I'm always listening to their stories and building relationships with them. It's because I know that that's the most important thing, you know? But then you have your Canvas videos that you have to watch, and you have your pathogens video you have to watch, and you have to, you have to fill out these forms and go get the form signed for the credit card slip, and all these things that we have to do. Make sure you fill out your PLC paperwork. Make sure you do all this paperwork. Make sure you're getting CU so that you can get a raise, all this stuff. And then it leaves me so stressed out.
Yes.
You feel that way?
Yes, 1,000%.
Okay. That makes me feel better.
And I don't have hundreds of kids, but I am so like, because once you have one kid, you either have like their younger sibling, or you've had their older sibling, or like you're going to have their younger sibling at some point. So like everybody ends up knowing who you are if you make that connection with their sibling or their neighbor or whatever. That I have all these kids at different grade levels coming up to me, "Hey, Miss Weatherall," and I'm like, "I don't know who you are, but hey girl, like what's up?" So it is hard. And then the demand is it's just ridiculous, because then you feel like you can't do both. Like you want to have these relationships, but then you're like, I have 1,000,001 things to fill out before Friday. And it's just so draining, you know?
And that's been one of the things that I've found myself like guilty of in these last 3 weeks that we've been doing distance learning is there's a natural disconnect because we're not in person, right? Like we can try to make up for that as much as possible, but naturally there is a disconnect there. And I've been guilty of being like, oh wow, isn't this nice? I have so much time to do all my other things because I don't have literally 100 students in my room for Key Club, and I don't have I don't have kids coming in all day long, because it's kind of like you said too, once you build those relationships, the kids don't just forget about you the next year. They're in your room next year, they're talking to you the next year, and you love it, right? It's so much fun. But at the same time, then you're behind on everything else you have to do. And so I've been guilty of saying, wow, this is so nice, I can actually do stuff that I'm supposed to be doing, but according to the district, right?
Yeah.
Which is sad, right? Like I'm not proud to say that. I'm saying it as a sad, you know, that I'm happy. Like there's a part of me that's happy that I'm not building relationships. Like that no, you don't have to be a principal or a head of CCSD to hear that statement and know that sounds wrong. Yeah. And there must be something super messed up with the way we're doing things for a teacher to say that, you know?
Natalie, when did you decide like, hey, I'm going to go to school to become a teacher?
That's a good question.
I actually wanted to be a teacher since I was young. So when I was a kid, I like matured like very, very fast compared to my peers. And it's funny because I make this joke all the time that like I was always like ahead of everyone up until like high school, and then like I stopped and everyone like surpassed me. And so it's just funny, but anyway, so when I was young, I only say that because I helped students all day long, right? Like my teacher would ask me to help my peers. I would offer to help my peers. I loved it. I loved it so much, especially with math, because with math, when I could help someone, it wasn't like I was telling them that their sentence sucked, right? Like, how do you tell someone that that's a bad sentence or something? But when it's math, it's just, oh, you got the wrong answer. Let's figure out where you went wrong, right? And I'm not insulting you and I'm just saying like that's the wrong answer and that's objective, right? Like it's not right. And I loved coming up with tricks. Like I naturally came up with tricks to remember how to do things. And I loved sharing those with kids that were struggling and couldn't get it. And then when I was a junior in high school, someone came into my English class and was like, if anyone wants to be a teacher, there's this program that will pay for your entire tuition and books. You just have to take 5 years in CCSD. Does anyone want to do it? I was the only one who raised my hand. I couldn't believe it. I was like, you're getting college for free and books for free. And the only condition is you have to teach your first 5 years in CCSD. That's the only condition. So anyway, so I actually started right then, my senior year, I started that program, and I just pushed away ever since, you know.
And you like it still? You don't have any, you don't have any regret saying like, "Yeah, I should have went for something else."
I will be so transparent with you, Jose and Darian. Like, I have said I want to quit so many times.
Yep.
I can't deny that, and I can't lie to you guys and say that that's not true. It's kind of like I was saying to you just, you know, a couple minutes ago, like, the workload, it's really hard. And I know that it's probably mostly my own fault for taking on so much at my school. But it's a lot, and to feel like you're always behind and you're never doing enough. And when you try so hard and there's still those students who fail or just don't care, it's really hard. And that's not the majority. I don't want to put it out there that like teenagers suck or that they're bad or anything. It's so not true. But I'm guilty of letting the few get to me, you know? And it, you know, it bothers me, and I don't know how to block that out and like not let the few kids who either don't care or don't want to try or fail regardless, you know, like I don't know how to not let that get to me. Maybe I just keep going, and eventually it'll go away. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, these past 3 weeks, or even longer than the past 3 weeks since we started, because we started what, 2 weeks before?
Right. Yeah. So 5 weeks now.
Yeah. So I have never said I wanted to quit so many times, and like was ready to be like, I cannot do this. And then I was like, wait, I need money. So like, I have to do this. But I said it before, like maybe my first year of teaching, I was like, I can't do this. I want to quit. And then my second year, it got better. My third year was amazing. Last year, I had the best group of kids. And it sucks that I wasn't able to like finish the year out with them in person. So it made going into this year that much harder, because I was like, I want those kids back, please. But again, I've never said it so many times. Like every day I talk to my friend on the phone and I'm like, today's the day, I'm gonna quit today. And then I look at my bank account and I'm like, maybe not today. Maybe when like someone drops $1 million into my bank account, then maybe I'd go through, but I wouldn't. But then I have my old students like messaging me on our old Google Classroom, and they're like, thank you. Like, because of you, I wasn't able to read in 4th grade, and now in 5th grade, I can read, or I can do this math problem or whatever it is. And they're like, I was so scared to go to 5th grade, but you helped me out. And it's only been like 2 or 3 kids, but that is what makes me stick to what I'm doing and not go through with the quitting, besides the whole money aspect. Not that we make much anyway, but it's better than not having a job. But yeah, and it does get to me too, Natalie, when my kids are failing and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Like maybe I'm not cut out for this, because clearly they're not getting something. And then I have those kids come back to me, and I'm sure you do too. And you're like, okay, so I'm in this for a reason, because I did make a difference with someone, or I made that relationship with that kid, and that's what they really needed at the time, you know? So
yeah.
Sorry, I got really deep, but.
Nah, yeah. So you guys both touched on, and we going back to building relationships, but you said it's difficult for you to help somebody who's struggling. So how do you guys motivate your students to make sure that they don't fall behind? Or do you just say, this kid has no talent, let him fall behind? What do you guys do?
Natalie, go ahead.
So I struggle with that a lot, Jose. Like that's one of the things that like I think about all the time. I'm like, I feel like I was never taught like how to motivate someone. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
I think that that's something that I don't know if it's something that can't be taught or not. I'm not sure. But it's one of those things that it's like it's hard. That's really hard for me. There are
Mm.
some teachers that come by it so naturally and it amazes me.
Mm.
And so I have a really hard time with that. Like, how do I get the student to do their work? You know,
Mm.
like get off their phone, pay attention, write something down, just at least turn something in, you know. I struggle with that a lot. I know that for a fact it does come down to building relationships. Like if you have a relationship with the student, they're much more likely to listen to you
And
and
put
take
an
what you
effort.
have to say like seriously. Um, so other than that, there, you know, there's certain things that I do to try to give them as many opportunities as possible, which is like I'll allow them to do their assignments. This year I'm allowing them to do their assignments unlimited amount of times. So
Mm.
you do it once, you don't get a good grade, do it again.
Mm.
Do it another time. I have kids who've done their one assignment 8 times because they really wanted to get 100, right? Like, so I try to do things like that that are built into my system so that the kids don't feel like they're set up to fail. And
Mm.
you know, I this year I said I'm gonna give them retakes every Friday. You come in and you can retake whatever quiz you want to retake.
Mm.
And so I'm doing things like that that I'm trying to give them hope. You know, like
Mm.
look at all this opportunity that you have.
Mm.
Um, that's me. What about you, Darian?
Sorry, he was coming in here, so I don't want you guys to hear him screaming. So for me, like I said, the majority of, okay, hold on. The majority of students that I teach are Hispanic and Black. So I use that to my advantage because I am both sides, you know, I'm half Hispanic, half Black. So usually I try to ask them a lot about their home lives. And a lot of the time they say that like they have one of their family members has either left or it's okay, or one of their family members is like in jail. Hold on one second.
Um, yeah, so it's definitely hard, especially when you're not knowing what's going on at home. So I think building that, asking questions, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's something that could help them. Maybe asking them like, "Hey, what can I do for you?"
Yeah. And so once I figure out their background a little bit more, and it takes time to get to this point, of course, because you don't want to just flat out say what I'm about to say next. And usually I say, like, do you want to be like that person?
Mm.
Do you see yourself ending up in jail like them? And
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, I use that to tell them to keep motivated and to like, you think that fourth grade is nothing, but this is just a stepping stone to get you, you know, further in life. You have to pass fourth grade to get to the next level, you know?
Mm.
And so it's harsh for you to say that to a fourth grader, I think. But at the same time, I don't like to sugarcoat things. I like to be as realistic as possible because the world is not going to sugarcoat things for you, you know,
Mm. Keep it real, son.
and that's what these kids need. They don't need someone sugarcoating things for them. They need the real honest truth and like, gosh, sorry. And so, of course I try to say it in like nicer terms. I don't say it like, hey, you're going to be in jail. I say like, do you want to be that way? I know you don't. So let's use that to get you through fourth grade and to get you to move on with, you know, the further grade levels. But it's taken some time, Natalie. I think just last year I was able to use that.
Yeah.
But before I was not able to, because I taught second grade. You can't really tell that to, you shouldn't, thank you. You can't, it's harder for you to say that to a second grader than it is to a fourth grader.
Right.
But yeah.
I feel like when you're doing one-on-one stuff, that's super, super impactful. Sometimes I feel like I don't have enough time. Like I literally don't have enough time in the period to reach everyone individually. Every single one, right? I can get to some. And so I always just like wish there was like some magic phrase or words that I can say to motivate everyone, you know, just like here, you know, like there's motivational speakers. People have that as their job and people listen to them and feel good afterward and feel like ready to take on the world. I'm like, I need that. I need that, you know?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I want to ask you guys a question. Excuse my ignorance, right? Because I don't know anything about becoming a teacher or what you guys go through. And so this is a learning experience for me. But so I don't want to say it like this, but at a regular job, right? Let's say like a 9 to 5, right? Situations will always pop up. So you'll always potentially learn something new, right? With becoming a teacher, you set the rules, you set the programs you're going to teach. Do you ever feel, and this is a question for both of you, I guess, do you ever feel like, okay, today wow, I learned something new today, or no?
It's funny that you say that. I just was joking around with my kids. So this year I've actually been able to, I know we were talking about like not being able to build relationships, but in a sense I am, because during our Google Meets, I'm utilizing the chat feature a lot, and the kids, like some of the kids respond really well to it, and I'm learning a lot from them. And I was running this program and I was presenting my screen so they could see it, and there was a giant ad on it, and the kids were commenting about it. I didn't even like pay attention to the ad because I was looking at the math, you know, and they're like, Mr. Beast, and I was like, okay, I didn't even think anything of it. But then the next period said the same thing, and they're like, Mr. Beast, blah 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 blah, and I was like, what are these kids talking about? And I asked them, I was like, okay, this is a thing, because I thought that the kids were talking about something else in the period before, but I'm like, okay, it's obviously this ad. I didn't get that at first. And so I said to them, like, who is this? And they were telling me, and then like we started talking about like other things. There's like a whole culture on Twitch. I don't know if you guys know about it. I'm learning, and there's different like little phrases that they'll say in like the chat on Twitch that they're saying in my class. And I've looked up several of them because I thought it was something bad, like POG, or I guess they just say POG. I'm not sure, because they're just typing it. But I'm like, oh my God, they better not be saying something bad in my class right now. And so I would like look it up, but it's nothing bad. And so it's just funny that you say that, because in a lighthearted way, I learned things from them all the time about like different cultures that they're involved in. And Mr. Beast, do you guys know who that is?
No.
Okay, good. Okay.
That sounds R-rated. I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds scary.
It's a YouTuber. I guess he's like the most famous YouTuber right now, and like the most like highly paid YouTuber on YouTube currently. And I don't know what his videos are about, but I guess he did something about saving trees. So anyway, it sounded like you were trying to ask a serious question, but I've been having a fun time with my kids online, because they'll be saying things and I'm like, I literally have to look it up right there. And it's funny because they can't tell that I'm looking it up because they just see my screen. They don't know that I'm typing, you know? And so, or they just see me, they don't see my screen. And so like a kid will like mention some type of the anime and I'm like, what the heck? And I'm like looking it up. And so I'm learning a lot from the kids in a way that I never would have learned from them before, you know? It's actually been really fun. And I said that to them. I was like, see, you guys are teaching me, you know, it's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah, same thing as Natalie, but when we were in person, I would learn dance moves and then I would come home and try to do the dance moves. And John is like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I learned this from the kids at school. Like, I'm flossing right now. And he's like, no, you're trying, but it's not working. But just like the different, like exactly like Natalie said, like the things that they watch on YouTube or Twitch or whatever, their video games, they teach me that kind of stuff. But I do have this kid this year that has taught me a lot about Mount Vesuvius. Just like he'll put a random fact in the chat box every day. But besides that, yeah, it's just.
I learn a lot from the kids. Like, I feel like that's when I do learn a lot. Like, I've had students from so many different cultures and backgrounds, and because of that whole building relationships aspect, like, I get to know them really personally. And so I've learned so much about like the Islamic religion and like the practices that they do, right? I had no idea. I knew nothing about that stuff before. And I definitely don't know a lot, but I know so much more, you know, like I know about like Ramadan and like the different times of day that they're like supposed to pray and stuff like that. So it's like, it's so cool because you, as a teacher, you're exposed to so many different backgrounds and cultures in your classroom. And so it's been really cool. And I do learn a lot from them all the time.
That's awesome. Have you ever caught your kids smoking weed in the hallways, anything like that? And then what would you do if you found out your kids were doing something terrible?
So I've never caught any of my students doing drugs. Now, I have found out later on that they were caught like by secure like campus monitors or something doing drugs, and I'm always shocked. It's so baffling to me because when they're in my class, I don't know, maybe this is like a little bit going to a little bit too far, but I just see them as like little angels. Like, I'm like, they're all perfect, innocent kids, and they just do their math homework and they're just perfect. And then I hear that like they got caught in the bathroom with pills or that they got in a fight. And I'm like, what? And so last year it happened. One of the girls got suspended for fighting. I was shocked when I found out who it was. I was like, and I told her, I was like, girl, what happened? I can't believe that you got in a fight. Like, she's such a sweetheart, like biggest smile all the time. One of the like only kids who like every single time she sees me, even when she's just walking into class, going to her seat, she says, good morning, miss, how are you? Like, such a sweetheart. And so I have confronted some kids when I find out that they've done bad things. What about you, Darian?
I haven't, I mean,
I hope your fourth graders are not smoking weed.
Oh my, I really hope so too.
Mine haven't, but I heard that not at our school, but like at other schools, yes, there are fourth graders that are doing that. But I do remember one time that that I found a bag of oregano.
What?
So I'm assuming that a kid was trying to sell weed, but it was just a bag of oregano. But it wasn't like in my classroom or anything. It was outside of the class. And so that's that. Yeah. But nothing else.
I'm like, I don't know what I would do. Like, I mean, if I caught someone like doing drugs of any kind or even like vaping in my class, like I would just, to be honest, I would just send them to the dean and be like, just go, because I can't tolerate that in class. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just a waste anyway. Like, some girls were doing like ecstasy at school. I'm like, that is such a waste of money. Like, why would you do ecstasy at school?
Yeah.
out of all the places, like that's going to be
That's
the
a
worst.
nightclub drug. What are you doing? That's so funny. Is there any questions that I should be asking you, being that you're a teacher and you want the world to know?
Oh, hmm. Um, that's a good question. Gosh, I feel like I'm trying to think. It's just that like we've kind of talked about like a lot of the important things to me,
Yeah.
right? Like having smaller classrooms, class sizes, right?
Mhm.
Um, Making education less cookie cutter, you know.
Mhm.
I mean, there to an extent we do have a variety of different paths and options for kids, right? There is a variety. I hate when people say there's no, you know, it's just one size fit all. It's like it really isn't, but it could be. There's so much more that could happen, right? Like, and I already touched on offering online classes more, you know, and um I would love for the math classes to change. Like, people ask all the time, like, why are we learning this, right? You know, I mean, I feel like we would all be lying if we never asked ourselves that, right? Like, why are we learning algebra 2? Like, what are polynomials gonna ever do for me? You know? Um, and so I do think that there is a place for that stuff. But I think that like, why don't we still have our 4 years of math, but like have it be, you know, stuff that like is going to be more applicable to the kids, you know,
Mhm.
and they can still be critically thinking and learning math. But it'll be something that will be more useful to them, right? So I just, my answer to you is just kind of what we were talking about before we started, the whole societal norms thing.
Mhm.
Like, I question societal norms so much these days. And
Mhm.
I wonder like how school became what it is today, right?
Mhm.
And why and how and for what purpose, and when you allow yourself to start questioning it, you start to see some of the downfalls of it, or the things that aren't working. And I would just tell everyone to like let your mind like be open and like have those questions. And then I don't really know how, like, what the next step is after that to like actually enact change,
Mhm.
but you know, you have to have the open mind and ask those questions first, right? And
Mhm.
then we'll try to figure out what the next step is after that, whether it's opening different types of schools um, for different students and stuff like that, or whatever it is.
Mhm.
One thing
Wait,
I do, I'm sorry,
no, go
because I
ahead.
feel like this is very important to talk about. Um, the I keep seeing a lot of stuff on social media of people like kind of, not kind of, they are bashing what teachers
Mhm.
are doing. And I just want people to understand like it's out of our control. The curriculum that I have to teach and the programs that I have to use, that is completely out of control, not out of control, out of my control. Like I can't change that. And it just makes me really mad when people are complaining about it instead of just trying to, maybe reach out to the teacher to try to understand why that teacher is using what they are using or teaching what they are teaching. Like, the whole Common Core stuff. Like, I get it. It's hard. It's really not hard. It's just different strategies on how to do a math problem. That's all Common Core is. But we're not going to get into that one. But just maybe try to understand the background of it. Like, why are we doing this? Maybe ask the teacher why, because I know if someone asked me, I would say that it was out of my control. I didn't choose to use the curriculum I'm using. I didn't choose to give all the tests that we have to give. That it's not on me. So I'm sorry, I just had to say that because a lot of people, I keep seeing it everywhere from my hometown, from here, from different states. And I'm like, just just work with us, guys. We don't control most of these things.
I just thought of another question, and I'm glad you guys keep bringing it up. The key word you guys keep bringing up is technology, right? You're using it as a sense to help teach kids how to work and go to school. But something that I was never affected in, and maybe it was because I was in my high school next to the janitor's room, but I never went through bullying and all of that. And social media plays a heavy role in the whole how people get bullied. So what is y'all's opinion on how we could possibly work together as a community, as a society, to stop social media bullying?
That's a really good question. We had an incident the day before school started, so 3 weeks ago. So frustrating because I really thought that this generation was the generation of like kindness and compliments and that kind of thing. Like they hype each other up so much. Like I've seen it on like my students who've graduated that I've kept in touch with, and we're friends on Instagram. Like you should see the comments that they get on their pictures. It's like everything. Oh my God, they hype each other up so much. You would think that this was literally the best picture on the internet right now. Like it's crazy. So anyway, we had an instance where I don't know who it is. Someone created an Instagram account for our school's tea, right? And they just said the most terrible things about kids, tons of sexual things that these kids allegedly did. It just completely like, I don't know if I would say ruining their reputation or not. It was something, just saying the most terrible things about tons of kids at our school, just all bad things. It was like a burn book from Mean Girls, but on Instagram. And I reported all the posts, especially the sexual ones, because it's like literally those are children, and you're talking about them doing these sexual things. Like that's not okay. Anyway, so we got it taken down after about like 5 days. But I don't know what it's gonna take to stop that from happening, because we actually, student council has a little like campaign or something. I don't know if you'd call it a campaign going on right now every day. It's from the Born This Way Foundation, which is put on by Lady Gaga, and they're doing like 24, 21, something, so a certain amount of days of kindness, and each day is a different thing to do, right? Like, so today was actually be kind to yourself and eat a healthy snack, right? So it was like be kind to your body, eat a healthy snack, right? And every day is like a different like challenge. Now, I don't really know how many students are participating in that, right? So there's this effort being put out, but what is the result? Is it really is it affecting people or not? I truly don't know, And the thing that's hard is like, I just don't know what in reality it's going to take to stop those few people. I really truly believe it's only a few people who have that attitude and mentality of like wanting to bash people and put people down, and it's probably because of their home life or personal problems, right? But so maybe that's the answer right there. Maybe it's not going to take some Born This Way campaign challenge thing, month-long challenge. Maybe it's going to be getting those kids out of a toxic environment, or getting their parents into some program so that they aren't addicted to drugs anymore, or alcohol anymore. Like, I don't know what it's going to take. Darian, what do you think?
I was going to say the same thing. I really don't know. So just like so many other things, I don't know if like it'll ever stop, because of the, like you said, the few people that are doing it. Like, we don't know why they're doing it, and if they're ever going to share why they are doing it. So I don't know. I don't know if it'll ever stop. I feel like it's one of those things that will always kind of be a thing, you know?
Even in this case, you know, this specific circumstance I'm talking about, it was anonymous, right? Like no one knew who it was. And so how do you fix that when you don't even know who it is, right?
Yeah.
You can't.
Can I throw a suggestion out there? Let me know if I'm going too far. Like if this idea is so far-fetched, but do you think that social media should restrict kids under 21 moving forward? Where it's like the new alcohol and cigarettes, right? You can only apply if you're 21.
I think that 21, so, you know, there's technically already age limits, right? I think it's 13, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. So I would say 21 is probably too old, because I mean, I remember when I was in college, I had a teacher who, it was required for us to make a Twitter. It was actually pretty cool what she had us do. The intention was to practice condensing your thoughts, right? Because it was only 140 characters. So you say what you want to say, but with only 140 characters. It was pretty cool. But anyway, you know, we did that when we were in college and I was like 18 or 19. So it's just the thing that's so hard is that it's like, this needs to be the job of the parents, you know, and we're expected somehow to be the ones to intervene. And, you know, I want to, obviously, if I know about it, but, you know, it is expected of teachers to be the intervention person or the one who calls CPS and stuff like that. But, you know, if I think that the parents need to be regulating what their kids are doing, right? Like, Darian, you have a kid of your own. Like, what do you think as a parent and teacher?
So I feel like as a teacher, we take on so many roles as it is. Like we are everything to these kids. So I think, like you said, that the parents need to take more. Well, they need to take more responsibility. They need to make sure that they're monitoring what their kids are doing. Like my son right now is on YouTube, but he's on baby YouTube, and I look over every 2 seconds to make sure he's on something that I feel that is appropriate, which he's learning a new language right now, but but you know what I mean? Like, even if you're just glancing over really quick and making sure that they're doing what they should be doing. But I think a lot of parents are afraid of their own children. And it sounds bad, but I really think that they are. So they're afraid to say anything to their kids, or they feel like, oh, I shouldn't be getting into their privacy or whatever, you know what I mean? But I, you know, as a parent, think that you should be getting into it to see what is your kid doing, you know?
Totally.
So those are some very good answers, guys. So where does Natalie see herself in 5 years, and how does Natalie become a better teacher tomorrow than she is today?
That's good, Jose.
I enjoy podcasting. I love this. It just comes to me. I don't know. I drink a little bit of this and it just comes to me.
Okay, so in 5 years, I'm going to be 32.
I'm 32 right now.
What was that?
I'm 32 right now.
Are you really?
Damn, 5 years. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I did not know that you were that young. Wait, old.
I turned 32 in April. I'm still young. I'm very young.
No, you are still super young. Yeah. You are. Okay, so that makes me feel good because when I'm 32, I'm going to be where you're at, and that's great.
So again, I get left back so many times. I act like y'all, but I'm really 5 years ahead.
Oh my God. So where am I gonna be when I'm Jose's age? So that'll be my 9th year of teaching.
Damn.
Woo,
Congratulations.
I hope I'm better by then. Um, oh gosh. Um, when it comes to my career, what I really want to do, but it just seems like I never have the time, going back to that whole thing, like never having time because of all the things like we are required to do by the district, and then building the relationships with students, which is a priority of mine. Like, I feel like I don't have time to do these like extra things that could make my class so much better. I want to be utilizing more, not necessarily technology, but yes, technology is part of it. But just like more, more things that are going to be applicable to the kids and going to be more engaging and fun for the kids. Because currently, this is my class, right? Back in like the normal times, they come in, we go over some homework problems, we have some notes. They do a little daily quiz that's 5 questions, and then if there's time left, they do their homework. That's my class. That is my class. That's so. Doesn't that sound so fun? Doesn't that make you want to come to my class? No, it
Yeah,
doesn't.
oh yeah.
So I'm not happy with that. I'm not like, that's great, I have a wonderful class, you know. um it's so hard. So I want to,
What does Natalie want? Tell us. What do you want to do?
I want my class to be outstanding. I want my classroom to be a place where you walk in, you automatically feel good, which I think that is the case for some kids just because of, you know, our relationships and stuff. But I want it to be a place where they feel good and they feel like excited to learn and excited to think for themselves. You know, I've noticed, I hate to say this, but I have noticed so many people online that are so stupid. And I do not want that to be any of my kids. You know what I mean? Like, I want my kids to be smart and to be able to think through things and not have their beliefs determined by memes, you know? And so I want to have this classroom where the kids, yeah, they're learning geometry or algebra 2 or whatever they're learning, but they're really learning how to think for themselves. And they're really learning how to be an engaged learner and an active learner instead of a passive learner, as they say, who's just someone who's sitting there just letting the class do its thing. It's like, no, you are a part of this class and we need you, right? So that's my vision. My class right now is very, I would just say, dull, I guess. I try to make it fun by bonding with the kids, but that's it. And that's great, but I want it to be more than that. I want the content to be fun. I want the lessons and the activities to be engaging. I don't want it to just be like they like coming to my class because they like me, right? I want it to be because they actually like math. They like the material. They get it. It challenges them and makes them think.
That's a good answer. Can I ask you a question for teachers, right? Because I don't know, again, much about it, but like for me, I know if I work hard, I could get promoted tomorrow, right? To manager or something like that. Do teachers look at that like tomorrow, if I work really, really hard, I'm a step closer to becoming principal? Like, is that a goal? Like, is that an end goal that a lot of teachers want to go into, or no? Am I wrong?
No, yeah, that's one of the things that's, I feel like, is kind of unique to teaching, and something that's been a little bit kind of discouraging to me, just slightly, not a lot, but I do think about that. You know, I'm watching my boyfriend move up and up and up, and others of my friends move up and up and up in their careers. And as a teacher, you can make more money and maybe you take on the department chair position, But other than that, if you're going to move up, you have to go to school to become an assistant principal, and then a principal, and or a counselor. Those are really your next steps up. Is if you want to step up, you're changing your career. You're going to be a counselor or an assistant principal or a principal. That's it. You're not going to be teaching anymore if you're getting a promotion, right? Now we get raises every year. Well, sometimes, and you know, you can get your raises, but you're doing the same thing. You're doing, you know, you have the same title and all that.
And this might be a dumb question, right? But
there's no dumb questions.
Can you wake up one day and be like, you know what? I'm good at math and I've taught my kids math, but I really want to teach English next semester. Can I switch, or do I have to go back to school to become an English teacher? How does that work?
You do have to go back to school to be an English teacher. I wonder if you could do something that they have the ARL program, which for anyone who doesn't know is the alternative route to licensure. So there's a lot of teachers who do that, and they that means that they have a degree already in something else, and they decided they wanted to be a teacher, and so they're gonna immediately they take like, I don't know exactly for sure. To my understanding, they take maybe like a class for a month, and then they get thrown into the classroom, and then they're taking their education classes during the time, but they're teaching at the same time. Because, you know, in Vegas, there's a huge need. There's hundreds and hundreds of vacancies. So they're in there and they're learning. And then in like, no, I don't know what the time is. So I apologize to any ARL teachers. I'm so sorry. But I think maybe like 6 months or something, then they have their teaching license. So I wonder if I could do that if I wanted to wake up one day and teach English, which I never would. But maybe what would I want to teach? No, I'm just going to stick with math personally. But if someone wanted to do that, then maybe they could. I guess I don't know the answer. Do you, Darian?
I have no idea. All I know is because we have a lot of ARL people at our school, and I think they have like 2 years to complete their master's in education is how it works. But I don't know how that would work. I just know the people that have moved from elementary to middle school, and there is a thing where you can just be like, okay, I'm wanting to move, but they're like, okay, you can move, but you also need to like take this test or something. So maybe
you have to take your content test.
Yes,
I
so
know
it
that
might just be that. Not that you have to go to school again. It might just be that you take the content.
If you pass the test, you're good.
Yeah.
So awesome. So is there anything, Natalie, that you want to share with the world that you got going on? Anything you're excited about? Anything like that?
Ooh, so I came up with this idea a couple months ago.
Okay.
Going so hot so far, but one day it is going to happen. And I was so stoked about this idea. So I'll share this.
Tell us.
I am the advisor for Key Club, and as an advisor for any club, you're always trying to raise funds for your club so that you can buy shirts or do things or donate to charity, whatever it is, right? And it's always like, oh, what's the fundraiser gonna be? Sell coupon books? Like no one wants those coupon books. And so we, I got creative. This is what I thought. Hear me out, okay?
Okay.
What if we had like a store of like a thrift store of like our students gently used clothes, right? And everything's $5 so that kids can donate to their old clothes. They can donate to it, and then we'll put it out as like a cute little boutique, like make it like hipster, have it set out, and then anyone can come in. It'll be just for high school kids, right? Because we want it to be like cool, right? We want it to be like this cool stuff. We don't want it to be like old parent stuff, right? We want it to be cool. So everything will be $5. We'll set up the little boutique. We'll have one maybe in like the fall when it's nice outside, right? have it for like a Saturday, for a few hours on Saturday. Anyone can come in. Everything's $5. So you just get what you want, and you know everything's $5, and then there you go. And then it's like 100% profit to us, right? Because all these things were donated to us.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's awesome.
I thought about this when I was cleaning out my closet one day. I was like,
that's a great idea. You know, I keep thinking to myself, like, I don't have any more questions to ask Natalie, but then you say something and then I'm inspired, right? So talking to clothes and hand-me-downs and stuff like that, I never had that, right? I never had the hand-me-downs because in my mind, I was too cool for that, right? So I'm a big fan of hip hop, and you know, there's a dress code when it comes to hip hop. You gotta have the freshest kicks. You gotta have the freshest gear. You gotta go school shopping because, you know, you just gotta shine. You know what I'm saying? So not to put your whole idea down, because somebody's trash is somebody else's treasure in their mind, right? They're gonna be fly wearing the hand-me-downs, but whatever. I'm talking about me right now. Can you give me a top 5 of what you needed, your school essentials? Do you remember going back to school? What was your top 5 essentials that you absolutely needed to
when
go
I
to
was
school?
a student?
Yeah.
Are you talking about like clothes or like school supplies?
Both. What did Natalie need to be fresh for the year?
I had to have like a new pair of Vans. So I would always have like a new Vans or Toms. Like it was always like a new pair of Vans or a new pair of Toms. But I would like wear them, like I would get them early because I didn't want them to look too new. You know, that was me. Like some people like that super, super fresh look. I like that like worn look. Like I don't want them to look like I just bought these. Then I would look like I'm trying too hard, right? So so I'd get my shoes. I had to have the 5-star brand notebook.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
5-star brand, and they would have it like broken up into like 5 sections. College ruled, wide ruled is crap. I will never use wide ruled in my life. College rules, 5-star notebook, and then for my math, I would have my graph paper. I could never use mechanical pencils because I write too hard and I would break the lead every single time. I still do. So I always use actual wooden pencils. I don't know if I was into this as much when I was younger, but now I love my colored pens. Like I have to have my colored pens, you know? And then when it came to like clothes and stuff, I didn't usually go like back to school shopping for clothes because we were poor, you know? So we didn't like do a lot of like new clothes shopping. So and I kept the same backpack. That was like one of my things too. I had the same backpack since I was in 6th grade, and I just like 2 years ago finally got rid of it because the bottom was like wearing out. And so that was like a thing for me. Like I just kind of like had like that like like almost like I don't want to say homeless look, but I had that kind of like look, like I thought that was cool, like boho chic, you know.
What year is this? Because this is like hipster era, right?
Yeah, like I graduated high school in 2011, so.
Oh my God.
Guess
How
what,
about you, Darian?
I graduated in 2012.
That's crazy. That's crazy to me. Oh my goodness. So, you know, it's funny you say that, and I don't know if it's a racial thing, right? But in a Latino's world, you could be poor, but you definitely need to buy clothes and kicks because you need to find out how to put that on layaway. That's more important to you than actually going to school, right?
Yes.
So I remember like my top things is I needed to have book covers, right? Because I couldn't allow my book to look so torn up. So you gotta cover it with the book covers. Definitely you gotta have a nice pen set to write with because back then phone numbers was a big thing, right? You gotta Hey, what did you do this summer? Give me a number, whatever, right? So you need to have a pen with you. Then you needed to have either some Jordans or some white Air Forces. That's what it was,
Yeah.
Being in New York, you also got to start thinking ahead because September is starting to cool down a little bit. You got to save up some money to get some North Face gear, because you gotta look fresh and you got to stay warm at the same time. How
That's a
about you,
trend.
Darian?
Okay. So, oh man. My go-tos were bows, like hair bows. That was me.
Oh, I love
Um,
those.
man, eyeliner as
Yes.
black as it could be.
Oh my gosh, dude. We would have been such good friends. That was an eyeliner. Heck yeah. Yeah, that was me too.
My older brother used to work at Vans, so I had like a million pairs of Vans always. Um, what else?
That's
Oh,
the real teenage dream right there.
um, what else did I have? Oh, the skinniest of jeans ever, to where it was cutting off your circulation.
Yeah.
And so in middle school, actually, because I was so insecure with myself, I always had a jacket on. Even if it was like 100 degrees outside, always had a jacket on. That was just like my little security blanket. So a jacket, but definitely mechanical pencils. I could not use regular pencils. But I also liked the little, the little things that you could put on the pencil, like the little rubber
Oh,
thing.
the rubber joint?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I had
The
those.
support.
Yep, the support. Yeah,
That's so funny. Oh man, what I would do to go back to high school, you know?
I would not go back to high school given the
I would
chance.
totally do it differently. I would study and stay in normal kids' classes. But do you have any other questions, Darian?
Just out of curiosity, Natalie, I almost called you Nancy, and I don't know why. I'm so sorry. I don't even know anybody named Nancy, to be honest. It must be this wine getting to me. How old do your kids or like your students think that you are, Natalie?
Oh, that's a good question. I laugh because I just thought of something really funny that happened a couple years ago. So like 2 years ago, I the answer to one of the kids' questions was the year 1993. And that's the year I was born. And so I was just, being a little silly. And so on the like homework, I said, it had the whole question and it was like, in what year did this happen? And I put in parentheses, hint, it was the year Miss Sherwood was born. And some of my kids showed me a text thread that was going around in a group chat of my students. And they were like, what, you guys, what year was Sherwood born? And one of the, this is so salty, but I love it. They were like, 2015. And then like another one was like saying, they were just like kept on going like younger and younger. Like they were like 2015, no, 2017, no, yesterday. So it was kind of messed up, but at the same time, it was funny. So it doesn't come up a lot. Like I don't like just say, hey guys, how old do you think I am? But it comes up organically sometimes. Like last year, I was leaving to go get Starbucks in the middle of the day during my prep. And so I was just walking through the hall and some random kid that I didn't know, he looked at me. I had my badge on. So he was like, "You're a teacher? That's crazy." And I was like, "You're a kid? That's to say." I was like, "Yep."
That's funny.
So, yeah, especially when I dress in like t-shirts and stuff like this, like I don't usually dress in t-shirts, but when I do, they'll like a lot of people will think I'm a kid. Or like I had someone come in one time and a student come in and they were like, they didn't know me. They were sent by another teacher and they walked in and they were like, "Oh, is Miss Sherwood here?" And I was like, I am Miss Sherwood. Like they're like, is the teacher here? And I'm like, I'm the teacher. I'm the teacher. I'm sitting at the desk. I'm the teacher, okay? And one of the things that's always so funny, this still happens till this day. If I'm ever like sitting in my like the kids' desk, because I do that a lot, right? Like building relationships, go back to that, right? I'm sitting in the kids' desk, helping some kids around, and I'm just getting on their level and stuff. If someone comes in that's looking for me, or even if the kid in the class is looking for me, they will scan the entire room and they do not see me at all. They will look straight at me and be like, where is Miss Sherwood? Like someone who knows me and knows what I look like. They cannot find me when I'm sitting at a kid's desk. They cannot. So yeah, point is I get mistaken for a student pretty frequently. But I also kind of, because I'm so involved in a lot of things that they do at school, a lot of kids already know me as a teacher. Like they know who I am just because I participate in a lot of the assembly things and all this stuff. So luckily I have that. I feel like if I wasn't as involved in the school, they wouldn't know that I wasn't a kid.
That's so funny.
Because I get mistaken for like being in my 40s or 50s, and I'm like,
what?
Yikes. Okay.
I thought you were going to say that you get mistaken for being in your 4th grade class, which is more believable than in your 40s.
No, kids have no concept.
Yeah, take it easy. There's nothing wrong with being 40. I'm almost there.
They have no concept of like telling age or time or anything. So I don't let my feelings get hurt by that. I just think it's funny.
Hey, Natalie, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I love spending time with you. I love your conversations. Thank you for teaching me a little bit more about school.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I was so honored when you asked me to be here, and I cannot believe I'm on my first podcast.
I hope we can get a lot of listeners, because I definitely want to do right by the school community. With that being said, Darian, if you don't have any other questions, let's take it away.
All right. Thank you again, Natalie, for coming on. And thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of Coast to Coast.